Okay, Rennie, be good and quit growling at the cat. Ebony, quit hissing it. Rinty, you know better than that. Oh, I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Channel 23. We're always on with this program we call The Faces of Carlsbad and Eddy County. And it's a program sponsored by Intrepid Potash. And I have two of my friends here, and they're not getting along too well, so we shall go on with that point. Did you hear that? Oh, my gosh. Anyway, Rennie, behave. This is Ebony, my cat, and this is Rennie, my dog, named after Rin Tin Tin. We always bring people that you might have recognized years ago, or maybe you have never seen them in your life, but by the time we're finished, you'll know them a lot better. And today I am very, very pleased to have with me a friend that I've known for over 50 years in this city. And I'm referring to Mr. Bill Harrison. Bill, welcome to Channel 23 and the Faces of Carlsbad. And I know it was tough getting you out here today. It's a beautiful day, but I was informed yesterday, try to get Bill on. And you have to try every maneuver possible. And I thought to myself, let's see, who was telling me all these things? And it happened to be a very close friend of mine. In fact, two very close friends were twisting my arm. I said, you don't have to twist my arm. I've known Bill so many years, it's unbelievable. He'll not say no to me. Right. And when you didn't, they were shocked. And I don't think either one of them, I'm referring to Jimmy and Guy, they're not speaking to me anymore because I outfoxed them. Anyway, Bill, let's go back in the early days where you were born, where your parents came from, and that's how we do this. And then we bring it up through the years that you worked and when I first met you. And we're going to talk a little bit about some gentleman that we both knew very well who used to do a program similar to this one, but he did his out on the street. And then what you're doing now. So let's go back to the early days.
Well, in the early days, I was born in a northeast Texas town called Marshall, where I grew up, graduated from high school. Mm-hmm. Following high school, which I graduated at the ripe old age of 15.
Wow, you must have been a super student.
I was lucky.
That's fantastic.
But then I went to junior college for 2 years, and 1 semester down at the University of Texas. Mm-hmm. And Uncle Sam decided he wanted me then. So I went into the Army, and in the Army's infinite wisdom, my having had 2 years of ROTC and 2.5 years of engineering, they decided I would be better off in the as a private in the infantry.
Well, that makes a lot of sense, doesn't it?
So I spent a basic training service in Little Rock, Arkansas, during which time my wife and I were married. Mm-hmm. And I got out of basic, and I spent 7 days in delay en route. And I was assigned to a division in Fort Pickett, Virginia. A month later, the division went overseas.
To Germany? France?
No, actually, we spent short periods of time in England, France, Belgium, and then went into combat in Germany. Mm-hmm. But I look back now, and I think I was probably lucky in one respect. I was wounded on the 5th day of combat. Mm-hmm. So I came back through a series of hospitals and ended up in Cambridge, England. When I got out of the hospital, I was assigned on limited duty because they didn't see me able to go back to service. So I spent 15 months in England, and during that time I worked with German prisoners of war in the supervision and administration of them.
Did you, I want to discuss that in a minute. Did you ever see a little kid wandering around in England while you were there? His name was Guy? No? Well, anyway, you were in charge of German prisoners.
Yes, we had around anywhere from 600 to 1,000 up on this one particular base. Mm-hmm. And we did all the services for the air base.
I see.
They did everything from heavy engineering to janitorial work, and you name it, they did it. But once again, in the Army's infinite wisdom, I was a private when I went into the military labor service working with prisoners of war. When I was discharged in May of 1946, I was a first sergeant.
Wow, that's
So-
I got in January of '46, and I was a private. But when I got out, I never made it up that high. I just made it up to corporal ranking. So
Yeah. But anyway, after I got out of the service, my wife and I moved down to Austin, and I completed my degree in chemical engineering. And we then came to Carlsbad. And I've been here since 1948.
1948. So you were here approximately 9 years before I got here. I got here in 1957,
Right.
and I met you shortly after that, you and your lovely wife. And I couldn't have had better parents. I'm serious about that, because every so often you run into parents who really don't like you and they don't like what you're doing. But you two back me up all the way.
Well, you put up with 3 boys and the 2 of us.
Hey,
And I-
the 2 of you were wonderful. And the 3 boys were very, very good
And I'll
too.
say this, you talked to one of the boys to play chess, and he got the point he was playing so well, he beat me, so I gave it up.
Is that right? Yes, that couldn't be Jim, could it?
Couldn't be.
No, of course
Yeah,
not.
it was
And
Jim.
I understand that Jim today collects chess sets.
Yes, he does.
Yeah, he and I both have a hobby together in that respect.
So that's pretty much my history.
No, there's more to it than that. Now, you worked, as you said, as an engineer
Right.
here in Carlsbad.
Chemical engineer.
Yeah, chemical engineer. How many years were you involved in that program before you retired?
34.
34 years. You must have enjoyed it, though. You had to enjoy it.
Yeah, it was good. I worked at 3 different potash companies.
Mm-hmm.
And during that time, I was involved in the start of 3 or 4 plants.
Yeah.
So I covered all the grounds, you might say, in the potash industry as far as the surface operations are concerned, before I finally retired.
But you were involved also in the early days of the NOM project, weren't you, Bill?
Right, I was one of the visitors, official visitors at the project itself when the bomb was exploded.
Now, they exploded that bomb how many feet underground?
As I recall, it was about 1,100,
1,100.
1,150, something like that.
And you were standing above ground listening to this, or just...
Well, there was a reviewing stand. There was quite a few people from Carlsbad involved, along with people from all over the world.
Mhm.
And we were about a half mile from the actual explosion point. And of course, well, the only thing I really felt was the ground rose about maybe 6 inches, something like that.
Mhm.
And just a rumble was all it was. But I guess the thing that stood out and drew the most attention and publicity was the fact that there was an escape of radioactive material from the shaft.
There was.
There was.
Oh, my.
There was a cloud, and I happened to drive through the cloud coming back home.
Oh, my.
So we had to take the car down and have it washed and sterilized. But anyway, nothing really came of it. It dissipated before it got to Roswell, really, so it didn't do any damage.
So it didn't hit that UFO up there in Roswell?
No. But the whole thing was there just wasn't supposed to be any escape, you know, the way the thing was designed.
Mm-hmm.
But the real problem was the fact that all of these deposits out here, salt and potash, have clay seams in them.
Oh.
And the clay seam is what failed in that explosion, which caused the leakage.
And how did that occur?
I guess the temperature just must have melted the clay.
Oh, my goodness.
But they were just small fissures, and that's where the cloud came from.
Did you worry about that afterwards, being subjected to the...
No, I didn't worry about it.
It takes a tough man to just shrug that off.
Well, no, I just I couldn't see where it could do all that much harm.
Mm-hmm.
I was inside of a car when I went through the clouds. So.
Yeah. But you had to get that car washed
Yeah.
down. Yeah. Well, when I came to this city, that was before they... What year was that? Do you recall? It was the 1960s?
I want to say 61 or 2.
Yeah, okay. I know that I was here when there was a
I
lot
think it
of...
was late 61 when they fired it off.
Right, there was a lot of tension
Oh,
between
yeah,
the two
yeah.
groups in this city at that time.
Oh, yeah.
men who said it's going to be fine and others who said, no, it'll kill us all, you know, and I thought, holy mackerel, what have I gotten myself into?
Well, all the mines had seismic equipment in them, you know, and to check movement, measurement, and there was none.
Yeah.
There was every precaution in the world taken on it.
Also, during those years, there was a man in the street who did interviews. We both knew him very well. What was his name?
Al Pitcaithley,
Al Pitcaithley. And he's
Lynn's
married,
husband.
he's married to Lynn Pitcaithley, who made a statement the other day when somebody said, how old are you? And she said, I am not old. I'm growing older, but I'm not old, and I love that. That's a great comment. Typical of Lynn, right? And Al used to do interviews. What was, the program was called Man in the Street?
Man on the Street. He just would horse collar someone walking down the sidewalk out here and have an interview. He caught me one time in front of Colin Gerald's store.
Yeah, that's typical. And he asked you a lot of questions about who you were? And
Yeah, just general questions.
general questions?
Pretty short interviews.
Yeah. Now, you've raised 3 sons.
Right.
One I've stayed in contact with for many, many years, Jimmy. And the other 2, tell us about the other 2. What are they doing?
Well, Bill, the second boy, is now in Santa Teresa, New Mexico. And he's been in and out of the banking business all these years since he graduated from college. And the youngest boy is in Phoenix. He worked for Fluor Corporation for many years, and then he went on his own, and he has his own consulting firm now.
Oh. Well, that took a lot of brave thoughts to do that, because
Yeah.
you never know. And then, of course,
And he was a little slack, you know, during the
yeah,
setback the last 2 or 3 years.
yeah, definitely. We've turned out a good, terrific group of sons.
In addition to you putting up with the 3 boys, Lynn Pitcaithley put up with them also. She had all 3 of them in kindergarten.
Yeah, and you ask her about those 3 boys, and she'll tell you the same thing I would tell you. I couldn't have been prouder of 3 boys. And you and your lovely wife, Jimmy, right?
Yeah,
I call her
Jimmy.
Jimmy. She always had that smile.
Yeah.
Always had that smile on her face. And she put up with, you guys put up with us as teachers. We were a pain. No kidding. It's
Well, I don't know. You coach football, and you coach basketball, and
yeah. I can't remember.
taught chess and afternoons and mornings. And
Yeah, well, that's true too. Turned out some fine athletes at that at Sunset. We were known as the Sun Devils in those days. Jim would remember that. And I can always recall, and I can't remember if Jim was. I don't think Jim was involved in this particular class when I dismissed 7 of my 8 6th graders for bad behavior just before a running tournament, and I brought up 7 5th graders to fill in, and in the races up at the high school, we finished 3rd out of 10 schools, and I thought, hey, that's not bad. I was proud of those 5th graders. But anyway, those were the days. I loved it.
Yeah.
So, what did you do when you retired, besides playing chess with Jim?
I gave up on that long before I retired.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, my wife and I did quite a bit of traveling. We were in Europe several times, in Canada and Alaska. So we did quite a bit of traveling until I lost her 10 years ago.
That many years ago, I can't
And
believe it.
since then, I haven't really done very much of anything. I still go to the lines. And I did for 10 years. I worked with the Lifeline program between the foundation and the hospital, installing lifelines.
Oh, okay. What's that program is similar to what?
Well, you have a little semi-computer in your house, and you wear a thing around your neck here, which has a button on it. And if you press that button, it activates the computer, and it calls an emergency location. Now, it used to be the hospital, but now it's I guess it's back east somewhere. Anyway, it's a direct line to an emergency thing. Then they contact your so-called responders that are local, and if they can't contact them, then they call 911 and have an emergency unit out.
What caused you to become interested in that?
My wife, She worked at the auxiliary for years at the hospitals. And
Yeah.
she decided I didn't have enough to do, so she volunteered me for the Lifeline program.
That's typical of wives, isn't it? They're like that. But we love them in spite of all that, right? So as that program's worked out pretty well, hasn't
Yes,
it?
it has.
Yeah.
When I first started working with it, we had 20 units,
Mm-hmm.
and now I think there's around 250 units involved in it.
Oh, my goodness. Well, one of the serious things I heard about a couple of years ago was when somebody disappeared from one of our local, I think it was Lakeview, and they couldn't find him. They finally found him down by the river, and
Yeah.
thank goodness he didn't fall in or anything, but he could have.
Yeah.
And without that,
Well, I think they have a GPS system now for people that are in that category, so
I see. Yeah.
they can locate them.
So are you involved in computers and things like that?
Not very much. I'm not completely illiterate, but pretty much so on computers.
You are talking, Bill, to one of the most illiterate men in the city of Carlsbad. I don't even know how to turn it on.
Well, I do use a computer.
Yeah.
I keep a lot of worksheets on, my medical cost and those kind of things, and prescriptions and doctor's visits.
Well, you look pretty darn healthy to me, I'll tell you. I don't know about the rest of these people in this city, but you look very healthy to me, I'll tell you.
Well, as I've told so many people, if I was in half as good a shape inside as I appear, then I'd probably be all right.
Yeah, but you're only, what, 49? I mean, my gosh, you look terrific.
Yeah, that's right. About almost double that. So,
Well, do you eat healthy meals, though?
yeah, I've said many times when I get to the place that I can't fix myself 3 meals a day and make up my bed, I'm going to assisted living.
Mm-hmm. So what are your favorite foods to eat, by the way?
No, I eat everything.
Everything?
I have to watch my diet pretty closely because I'm diabetic.
I didn't know that. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I have been since '78.
Is that right? That's 30.
So I watch my diet pretty closely.
Yeah.
But so far I've managed to control it. So.
Was there, for people who were aware of diabetes, was there a background in your family?
No.
No.
None.
And they have no idea what triggered this?
I have no idea.
My gosh.
It isn't hereditary apparently. So.
Mm-hmm. So do you have to take medicine every day
Oh
to
yeah.
control it? Oh my gosh.
And I watch it. I check it pretty closely.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm amazed that you look terrific. For a guy who's just 49, it's unbelievable. Do you have any?
Well, if you'll add 37 to that, you're pretty close.
All right. We will push that. That's fine. Do you have any hobbies though, other than messing around a little bit with?
Not really.
Not really.
I work Sudokus.
Oh, you're one of those, huh?
Yeah.
My wife likes to do that too, but I
But,
can't figure those out at all. I can break codes. I like breaking codes, but when it comes to crossword puzzles or Sudoku,
Well,
I'm lost.
it occupies my time.
It occupies your time.
I watch a lot of sports on TV.
Favorite teams? Which
University of Texas.
one? Naturally. And in the professional sports?
Well, I was a big Cowboy fan for about 25 years. And then when Jerry Jones treated Tom Landry like he did, I immediately lost interest in the Cowboys.
Well, could I make a suggestion? My team is so bad, we need all the help we can get. And I'm referring to the Cleveland Browns.
Okay.
So if
well,
you can help us in
they
any way.
should do well. They've got a good quarterback now.
Yes, they do. He's from the University of
Right.
Texas. Yes, I know that.
Well, you
It's
know,
not his fault that we're losing games.
along that line, the reason I was so unhappy with Jerry Jones on the Cowboy situation was I went to school with Tom Landry.
Oh, a very nice man, I
He was
understand.
a very nice person. He played both ways on the football team. He was a defensive back and a running back.
Yeah.
Real nice. You couldn't ask for a nicer person.
Oh, that's wonderful. Well, Bill, I wanted you to know that I hope you've enjoyed the Candlewood Card and Gift Shop today. This is where we're coming from on Channel 23.
Been here.
Isn't it beautiful the way?
Yeah, it is.
I just feel, well, you can't help feeling the spirit of Christmas
Right.
or the holidays. This is not July, is it? It better not be. Or if it is, we're in deep trouble.
Not close.
Well, I want to thank you, Bill, for letting me interview you, because it was so nice to have you here. And if you see those other two guys, you know, your son Jim and that other guy, what's his name, Guy? Just ignore them.
Yeah, you just ignore them.
Just totally ignore them.
I'll put on my sunglasses.
That's right. Thanks a million for
Thanks,
being
Bob.
our guest
Thank
today.
you for all the work you've done.
And on behalf of Channel 23 and Intrepid Potash and the City of Carlsbad, goodbye and good luck.